Our Daily Bread for April 5th, 2022, entitled A Good Work. The scripture for today's devotional is found in Psalm chapter 139, verses 13 through 24. As a teenager, Charles Spurgeon wrestled with God. He'd grown up going to church, but what was preached seemed bland and meaningless. It was a struggle for him to believe in God, and Charles, in his own words, rebelled and revolted. One night, a fierce snowstorm forced the 16-year-old Spurgeon to seek shelter in a tiny Methodist church. The pastor's sermon seemed directed at him personally. In that moment, God won the wrestling match, and Charles gave his heart to Jesus. Spurgeon later wrote, "Long before I began with Christ, He began with me." In fact, our life with God doesn't begin with the moment of salvation. The psalmist notes that God created inmost being, knitting us together in our mother's womb. The Apostle Paul writes, "But when it pleased God, who separated me from my mother's womb and called me by His grace." And God doesn't stop working with us when we're saved. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. We're all works in progress in the hands of a loving God. He leads us through our rebellious wrestling and into His warm embrace. But His purpose with us then is only beginning. For it is God which worketh in you both to will and to do His good pleasure. Rest assured we're His good work regardless of how old we are or what stage of life we're in. Reflecting on today's devotional, how's God working in your life at this very moment? What's He doing with you for His purposes? Let's take a moment to pray. Loving God, I'm overwhelmed to think of your loving care for me from the moment of my birth. Thank you. Help me to respond to your ongoing work in my life.